Good evening and welcome back to the public hearing. I will ask again, since I asked before and we took a 1-minute recess. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak to bylaw number 25-17? And then if you do come to the microphone, if you could state and spell your first and last names. Seeing none. Administration, would you like to make any closing comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just make a very brief closing comment. Bylaw 2517 has one change to the ASP. I'm on page 6 of 182. 1.0 bylaw number 0822 being the West Creek Area Structure Plan is amended by deleting map 7 future land use concept and replacing it with map 7 future land use concept as shown in Schedule A. That's the only provision, the only clause in this bylaw before council tonight. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the amendment only concerns the fact that diagram 7 was omitted in the last package.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, through the chair, and it was omitted just due to an error on our part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions of clarification from council? Seeing and hearing none, I will close this public hearing for bylaw number 25-17, being a bylaw to amend West Creek Area Structure Plan bylaw number 08-22 at 7:27 p.m. And now that the public hearing is closed, council will no longer accept any new information before making the decision. We move now to our second public hearing, 4.2, Land Use Bylaw, amending bylaw number 25-08, West Creek Phase 1, Strathmore. The public hearing for bylaw number 25-08 is in session at 7:28 p.m. This public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M-26, and amendments thereto. Legislative Services.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. As you said, the purpose of the public hearing is to discuss bylaw 2508, being a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw number 1411. First reading was given to this bylaw on May 21st, 2025. The public hearing was advertised in the following ways. May 23rd, 26th, 27th, 2025, letters of the notice were hand-delivered to adjacent landowners. May 22nd, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted on the town's website. June 4th, 11th, and 18th, 2025, notice of the public hearing was posted in the Strathmore Times. Furthermore, there is an ad on Strathmore Now's banner indicating all the town's upcoming public hearings. To date, there are no written submissions received.
Thank you, Jonathan. Pursuant to the town's council procedure bylaw, the following rules of conduct shall be followed during the public hearing to ensure procedural fairness. No person shall address council without the permission of the mayor. No person shall speak more than once or for more than 5 minutes, exclusive of the time required to answer questions from council. All discussion must be related to the proposed amendments contained in bylaw number 25-08. No other matters will be discussed at this time. Respect for staff, council, and the public shall always be maintained. And any person who wishes to address council, please state and spell your name. A reminder that this is the public's time to provide feedback to council relating to this bylaw amendment. Council is not required to answer questions from the gallery. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes. There will be no debating the bylaw. Would administration like to present? And good evening, Mr. Ferguson, and welcome.
Good evening. Bylaw, bylaw number 25-08 is before council tonight, seeking to amend the town's land use bylaw to redesignate only those lands within phase 1 of the West Creek Area Structure Plan. The redesignation would establish land use permissions under the land use bylaw, mainly for urban residential land uses, being 96 lots, shown on the concept plan that is attached to the planning report. The proposed land use designations and the associated development standards would accommodate a range of low-density urban residential built forms, such as single-detached, semi-detached, and duplex dwellings on lots of various sizes. This phase also includes blocks of land for emergency services needs at the corner of Wheatland Trail and a future east-west arterial road, as well as blocks for stormwater management infrastructure and linear open space, and the amending bylaw accounts for all of this accordingly. From a more technical perspective, the bylaw will introduce a direct control district single detached residential, a direct control single detached residential small lot, a direct control low density residential district, and a public service district zoning onto the lands. The use of these direct control districts are intended to ensure that the development occurs within West Creek Phase 1 that is in keeping with the larger ASP itself and responsive to current urban residential housing trends and preferences. These districts offer enhanced clarity to what can be built on the lots by eliminating uncertainties around the issuance of development permits that require variances from standards in the R1, R1S, and the R2 districts. These specific modifications are provided in more detail in the planning report. Development Services has also reviewed the proposal against the town's municipal development plan, and we generally note that the proposed bylaw demonstrates consistency with growth management, community and neighborhood design, environmental management, residential areas, wetlands, transportation, utilities, stormwater, and protective emergency services policies that are in the MDP. In terms of next steps, if the amending bylaw is enacted by council, Development Services would be able to proceed with processing a concurrent subdivision application involving only the Phase 1 lands. And I would also note and clarify at this point that any future applications to amend the existing zoning on the lands would require another application for subsequent phases of the West Creek Area Structure Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Is there anyone else? Oh, sorry, we will proceed with our list of registered speakers. And I have listed here Mike Festa, West Creek, Amanda Polini, Arcadis, and Ben Lee, Arcadis. And I hope I've said your names correctly. If you wouldn't mind coming to the microphone, and you may speak when ready.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Mike Festa. I'm Senior Development Manager at West Creek Developments. Joined here this evening with our planning consultants of our project, Mr. Ben Lee and Amanda Polini from Arcadis. To begin, I'd like to thank members of council and the mayor, Town of Strathroy and council for the time and engagement on this initiative. We are here tonight to respectfully request your support in the proposed land amendments for our Phase 1 boundary to facilitate what we believe is a exciting new land development project in the heart of Strathmore. West Creek was founded in 1997, and we've developed approximately 2,200 acres of land, resulting in 15,000 homes over the years. We look forward to creating a vibrant community centralized in the town of Strathmore. We are here today to present a proposed land use amendment for Phase 1 of our West Creek lands. It's important to note that this application only pertains solely to the Phase 1 boundary identified in the blue, which is, there we go. It's kind of cut off by the visual there. All lands outside this will remain current, and as talked about earlier, will be brought forward with land use applications. Although today's application applies for the Phase 1, we are presenting the broader subdivision plan to provide context and illustrate the long-term vision for the area. There we go. This updated concept maintains the spirit of the original plan while following key refinements such as a balanced distribution of residential districts, the addition of an emergency services site in the northeast corner, a storm retention pond in the southeast corner, and a linear MR running east-west, providing connectivity along with various increased park spaces and park and open spaces. These adjustments are intended to support a range of housing and options and to meet and complement the town of Strathmore's vision and feeling while addressing the current housing needs. Next slide. For phase one, we are proposing the following land use districts. The R1S direct control single residential small lot, the R1 direct control single detached residential, the R2 direct control low density residential, along with 3 public service districts, the emergency service site, storm pond, and park space. The key differences from the original land use designations include the introduction of the 3 direct control districts and the additional public services districts. These changes are necessary to support the enhanced affordability, community infrastructure, along with providing emergency services quickly to the remaining town of Strathmore. The proposed direct control districts allow for minor adjustments to development regulations, offering flexibility and affordability while aligning with the town's broader planning objectives. These modifications are consistent with the development forms commonly seen in Calgary and surrounding municipalities, helping to support market-driven housing choices and provide affordability. The R1 DC district, this table outlines the specific proposed regulations for the R1, which is designed to accommodate front drive, single detached homes. Amendment includes reducing the minimum lot area, corner lot size, site width, and side yard setbacks. An example is provided within the chart here. For the R1 DC district, is designed to accommodate a mix of front drive homes, along with rear lane single detached homes. This amendment consists of a reduced side yard width and side yard setbacks, with the introduction of a 6-foot private maintenance easements on one side yard, with the other as 0. The effect of the reduction will continue to complement the town's vision of a residential community, with housing continuing to have adequate space between them, while providing residents of Strathmore additional value buying single-family houses. Lane product aligns with the town of Strathmore's, with what the town of Strathmore has expressed. They have expressed interest in increasing the supply of lane housing to meet growing demand. The detailed regulatory adjustments are a representative example within the slide here. The R2 district, this table outlines the proposed amendments to the R2, which supports rear lane semi-detached housing. This amendment includes minimum lot area, site width, and yard setbacks, as shown on the table above. Stormwater. The public services designated for stormwater, public services district designated for stormwater management will serve as the first phase of interconnected open space and pathway network. The 4.57 acre pond facility will manage all stormwater and filter stormwater before reaching the eastern wetlands. The future storm pond will provide habitat for various species and serve as an amenity for nearby residents. Next slide. The proposed public service district includes a 2.87 acre emergency services site identified as a priority to the town. Centrally located and easily accessible, this site will be well positioned to accommodate future fire, EMS, or police, whichever the town direction it goes. Its strategic location ensures quick emergency response times via Wheatland Trail and the future North Boundary Road.
In March 2025, West Creek and Arcadis conducted public engagement activities, including an open house on March 27th. Some residents expressed support for the development's potential to enhance community growth, expand pathways, and provide new housing options in Strathmore. Based on the community input, we made the following 3 revisions, which will be added to subsequent phases of the land use amendment and subdivision applications. So number 1 on the slide above here, a new parklet will be added in the southwest corner, resulting in an over-dedication of MR land. We're happy to exceed this standard as we believe this strengthens the community and integrates well with the neighboring areas. Number 2, in response to concerns about compatibility with existing homes, we will revise zoning adjacent to the southern boundary, changing from the planned DCR1S to DCR1 to ensure alignment with the built form and the neighboring community. Number 3, residents in Westmount and Strathmore Lake shared concerns about backyard flooding. In response, we will implement engineering and landscaping solutions to redirect surface water to the southwest storm pond, alleviating overland flow issues and to improve the current site conditions. To conclude, we're excited about the opportunity to bring this community to life. We respectfully request council's support for the proposed land use amendments. We'd also like to express our appreciation to the town staff for their dedication and professionalism. It has been our pleasure working with them, and we look forward to continuing our collaboration. Thank you for considering us this application this evening, and our team is happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just have one clarification question because I wasn't sure I heard it right. The storm pond in the southeast corner goes into the wetlands east? Is that correct? Is that what I heard you say?
The overflow will go to the eastern wetlands.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of clarification? Councillor Wiley?
I missed it. How far back, I think it's called the setbacks on the direct control zoning, how far back are they?
There's 3 particular DC districts, so you may need to narrow it down for me.
Okay,
Which one you want to speak to?
my apologies. Which are the ones that are closest to the front of the lots?
The front, so the existing front yard setbacks on all the districts are not being affected in any of these changes.
Okay.
So what is currently applicable, they will remain the same. And all we have done is identify the ones that are changing. Again, to broaden the housing mix. That's
Yeah, so that leads me to my
accommodating.
next question then is, under the amendments then, or the changes, how much more affordable might a home be under your proposals than the original? How does it make the housing more affordable?
Yeah, I mean, there's a combination of factors. Because we're able to make the lots a little bit wider, you're basically saving more land, you're able to get better yield, you're able to service more lots with the same amount of linear run in infrastructure. So there's a number of fronts upon which you're making that individual lot more affordable. I can't speak to, I haven't done that comparison specifically because we have to establish a baseline. But if we had to take one, like I said, I don't have the numbers, but it's basically less land that you are having to account for each lot for a purchase price. You're having less infrastructure to pay for, and you have a better distribution of public space and all the roads being maintained or being, again, less public road as well, in addition to the linear pipe runs. All add up to substantial savings for that house, if that makes sense.
No, you've put in neighborhoods that are this high of density before. I assume 15,000 homes you guys have built. What are people saying about the parking?
About the parking?
The parking, yes, the parking.
Do you want to?
Truthfully, we haven't had any issue with the parking to date.
I mean, there's a requirement that all parking needs to be accommodated off-street.
Say that again. What does that mean?
Well, because every home requires to have either attached garage or detached rear garage. So there's certain allocations or requirements for how many parking stalls that each lot needs to have. And it cannot be, say, well, we're gonna allocate that parking on street. Each house will need to have parking either on the front driveway or a rear detached garage pad. So parking is being accommodated in the communities that we're talking about. So that's why Mike is saying that they haven't experienced, I guess, the parking concerns that you're referring to. it's required through the bylaws and through the permitting requirements to the jurisdictions that we work in, that parking needs to be accommodated off of the public street. So those street frontage areas are then kind of protected for visitor parking.
Because what I think some residents are picturing are these incredibly high-dense neighborhoods, parking jammed in, and these homes almost right at the curb is what I'm hearing people describe this as.
So again, there's a variety of lots. The homes that are jammed at the front of the curb, those are the ones that would have a rear detached garage in the lane. So they would have the space at the back of the lanes for their vehicles. And that would leave the entire frontage, because you wouldn't have any driveways interrupting the curb at the front of the house. And then that leaves all that space for public parking.
I see.
Right? So again, that's not the only product type. On this plat, all the lots that front onto the collector street, because it's a bit busier thoroughfare, those all will have a rear lane. So all the parking and the private vehicle parking will be accommodated in the rear lanes. But it leaves that frontage for visitor parking. But that collector standard is also designed to, account for the pedestrian, pedestrian viability. So there's going to be separate sidewalks and boulevard trees, again, to make sure that frontage is very pedestrian friendly. We have front porches that come up to the street to create that framing and put eyes on the street and make it a very friendly walking environment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, I have more questions. If it's okay with you, I could keep going. Unless there's more other councilors who want to.
Are the questions of clarification?
There are questions about phase 1 changes.
Jonathan?
Thank you, Worship Council. This is the time to ask questions of individuals is during the public hearing. So,
Yep.
Oh, great. It's been mentioned tonight about environmental assessments. I'll keep it just on the phase 1 then. So has there been, help the public and help myself understand that there has been no environmental assessments since 2008 on the phase 1 land. Is that possible? There could be some changes, and well, I'll let you answer that and then kind of walk me through the process as if you do, walk me through this.
Yeah, for sure. We do review the land with Alberta Environment. We also go through the whole Water Act process with the BRET systems. We did get Water Act approval in 2010, got extensions in 2013, 2015, and 2018. And when we engaged Alberta Environment, they said you need to go through the Water Act process once again and renew that submission. So that's what we are currently in the process of doing. We want to adhere to all Alberta Environment regulations, and if understanding that our BIA, or biophysical impact assessment, is outdated, we are renewing that as well. So it encompasses all species and the wetlands involved with that, and we are currently in the process of doing so. We've also met up on site with Alberta Environment to review the sites and proper steps that we need to take.
Yeah, thank you so much. So when people hear that this hasn't been assessed since 2010, what you're saying is it's received extensions, meaning, a step less, but then it's also going to be renewed again right now. And as well, the biophysical assessment is going to be renewed.
Correct. We're going through the whole process once again.
I'm just going to throw out some other vocabulary that you probably understand that I don't, that I've heard. So does an environmentally significant and disturbed resources, an ESDR assessment, also need to be conducted on this site? Is that vocabulary you're familiar with? Because I'm sure not.
And I apologize, I'm not sure if the references to something else, but ESRD is a reference to a department for the province, Environmental Services and Resources Development. I may have that wrong.
So in a short answer, no.
Sorry. No.
So a short answer, it doesn't need to be done then.
Well, and there are requirements, as Mike alluded to, relative to the Water Act, that with the province, and all the regulatory requirements are things that we're committed to doing. And, you know, the concerns about the species and wetlands and setbacks, that will all be looked at carefully with a fine tooth comb with the province and the regulatory team. And so how the changes will occur over time, there's going to be, you know, mitigation measures as part of the approvals that we got approved in 2010. And we expect it to be the same, or if not, you know, similar, if not a little bit more compared to that. Because, you know, regulations have changed a little bit. But there's protocols set for this process, and we're following those processes to a T. Again, you know, given the sensitivities that we're aware of and we acknowledge. But again, as we talked about in May 7th, you know, presentation, we are protecting over, you know, 30 plus acres on the east side of this property for that wetland, for wetlands. in the
Okay,
long
and
term.
I've already heard you allude to it, but then I think your answer is already yes, then you're following all the sensitive species guidelines as well?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
And like, there's times, there's years where you could deal with them. So there's, again, there's a set of rules that we need to follow. And some of the species that people have referenced, I mean, they're migratory species. Again, there's protocols and rules of conduct in how we manage those. And we're committed to following every one of those.
okay, and then just for residents, so let's say council approves phase one, and you go in there and discover, you know, some of the things that have been referred to tonight. Whose responsibility is it to make sure? So it's the provincial government's responsibility, it's your responsibility to report, and you're following all the protocol. Is there any responsibility on the municipality then at that point as well to be monitoring this? And maybe that's a question for my administration.
Yeah, I think for the town's requirements, yeah, probably best to ask them.
Okay.
But I can speak to our obligation.
Yeah, speak to that, thanks.
If I may, yeah. And what's interesting is we commission a PEGA certified environmentalist and biologist to do the work with our environment. We have really very little influence on them. They have rules, a code of conduct and ethics that they work with the province. It's an exchange between them. And we basically have to do what we're told. So if there's any kind of inkling of any, you know, influence that we have, it's actually very little. They have to follow this kind of menu, and we have, again, very little control of that. Again, it's to protect the integrity of the process of what they're trying to do as far as this public asset, and we have to meet those. And again, as part of that formula, we're over-dedicating land on the east side to account for the loss of the wetlands on the west side.
All right, my third set of questions is just about traffic. I can see from this that the clear plan for phase one is to exit onto Wheatland Trail or Highway 817, is that correct? So the
sorry.
neighborhood, the flow of the neighborhood will come out onto the 817 for phase one?
Yeah,
On the north-south
yeah, the
road
North
there?
Boundary Road, yes, that's correct.
Oh, is that what it's called?
At this point, I don't know if there's an official name yet. Where's that? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we're referring to. But there's also two connectors ultimately to the south. Actually, there's three connectors to the.
But for phase one,
for
there's
phase one,
just the
sorry,
one?
My apologies, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's correct, just to the North Boundary Road.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Please.
We will be extending the road entry from Wheatland Trail heading west to our phase one entry. So we will extending that road structure west to our subdivision. And then that will be, yeah, there we go.
There it is.
There it is. There we go. So it'll be right to the first intersection there that we will be building.
And so for the first few phases, like it's clearly gonna, that north boundary road is gonna clearly exit out onto our Wheatland Trail, that's the direction.
Correct.
Eventually though, some of that traffic will divert through the neighborhoods to the south.
Correct. Once the subdivision starts to be built out, then you'll have three connection points to the south.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Are there any more questions in the public hearing? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else present who wishes to speak? Please come forward and state and spell your first and last name.
Thank you. My name is Lee Travis, L-E-E, and last name is Travis, T-R-A-V-I-S, and I speak on behalf of myself and my wife Joy, J-O-Y. We reside at 43 Strathmore Lakes Crescent. Thank you, Your Worship and council members, for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm addressing you in response to the recent notification regarding the Land Use Bylaw Amendment number 25-08 to West Creek Area Structure Phase Plan 1. We believe that the proposed amendment is not in the best interest of the town of Strathmore, are detrimental to the quality and the safety of life for future residents, have significant negative impacts to the traffic, parking, and road maintenance, specifically snow removal, and overall rural town character. In the use of direct control concepts and increasing the overall density from 6.5 units per acres to a flexible range of 6.0 to 7.5 units per acre will increase congestion, reduce public safety, decrease quality of life, and significantly alter the rural character of the town of Strathmore that is now and for future developments. This change would create an environment more akin to a high-density urban area such as Calgary and Chestermere, undermining Strathmore's community's small-town appeal and lifestyle. I would ask that the council reject the amendment to use of direct call concepts or direct control concepts, maintain the previous agreed to R1, R2, R1S, and a density of 6.5 acres. With respect to the town's land use bylaw, the lands are currently zoned R1, R2, along with the proposed amendment to the land use bylaw would rezone them to the direct control concept. And I think this would permit, as stated by the developer, a reduced minimum lot area, lot sizes, impacting interior lots, corner lots, side yard setbacks, and the use of a zero lot line approach. How much reduction is occurring? Reducing an R1S lot, which is currently 9.75 meters of an internal lot and 11.25 corner lot. They are asking for a reduction to 7.9 meter internal lot and a 9 meter corner lot, reducing essentially 2 meter size of the lot. Now, I think in feet, that's about 6.5 feet. I'm 6'4", so it gives you a sense. Doesn't sound like much, but when you condense all of it, it becomes problematic. They're also reducing the side yards from 1.5 meters to 1.2 meters or to 0 meters, creating a maximum house width. So now you got to talk about what are the side yard setbacks and what they're asking for based on also the reduction in the size of the lot. The houses there will be between 16 and 18 feet wide. So you're talking about the width of a mobile home, not a double wide, a mobile home is how narrow these houses are actually going to be, resulting in a townhouse-like appearance, which is not consistent for this particular area and the original design associated with this area. A narrower direct control R1S lot are problematic for vehicle parking, as the proposed design cannot accommodate the average number of cars for the number of houses. With an average vehicle length of 4.9 meters, any future household with more than one car will have difficulty in parking a second vehicle on the street. Keep in mind, please do not pay attention to the pictures that were in the presentation, as they do not reflect the design that is actually proposed in the design of the development. Parking will be further exacerbated at street corners where they have cul-de-sac-like corners, where houses are actually even closer together, and even more difficult in winter months with homeowners piling snow to clear streets for parking spots. Additionally, this level of congestion will impact the town's ability to provide quality street cleaning or conduct some snow removal efforts. With many of the proposed lots not having access to a lane or alleyway, and I did look at the proposed drawings and understand where the alleyways and drawings are actually at, We believe homeowners will be forced to become creative in their parking and installing front parking pads or simply parking on the lawn to accommodate 2 vehicles. Because currently, the lot size will not allow for 2 vehicles to park in front of the same house. So if you have an owner of 2 cars in front of one house, the cars are actually longer than the lot is wide. Finally, the increased density with smaller lots proposed an increased risk to children playing in the streets because less yard, less side yards. And there's a fire risk to the neighboring properties due to the reduced separation between the structures. I'm not even sure if our building codes or our building expectations with Strathmore can handle the houses that close together with the fire load that would occur if a house fire did occur. I know Calgary has changed some of their bylaws to accommodate this. I don't know if we have. Keeping in mind we have more cars in Strathmore than they do in areas that have public transportation infrastructure. So we don't have that infrastructure to getting to and from work. We're actually more rural, so there are more cars in Strathmore than areas that are serviced by these smaller lots than in Calgary and Chestermere and Airdrie. So I ask that you reject the proposed amendment to reduce the lot width and side yards and setbacks. I do take exception to the direct control districts and how it is outlined on page 25 of 160 in the agenda, where this is viewed as appropriate in terms of ensuring the development occurs within West Creek Phase 1 as both keeping with the larger West Creek ASP and responsive to current urban residential housing trends and preferences. I don't want to be trendy in Strathmore. I like the fact that we've got a little more space between our houses, and the trend of jamming things closer together and making them more narrow is not part of this town. And the preference, I don't know of anybody that would prefer to have a more narrow house. So I would ask that you reject this bylaw. As a longtime member of Strathmore Lakes, we've greatly appreciated the culture of this town. We have lived here for 25 years. It's a rural community. West Creek is a Calgary-based developer. From what they have stated and what they have shown us and in the public hearing, and the people that we have talked to with that public hearing and our neighbors, they do not understand nor appreciate the true character and the quality of the life of the town of Strathmore compared to Calgary and the adjacent areas where they have developed in the past. While we understand that growth is inevitable, we believe it is crucial to collaborate with all the involved parties to ensure the development respects the rural character of our community and protect the value of our neighborhood for the benefits of Strathmore residents. And I thank you for considering my comments and this evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Are there any questions of clarification? Are there any questions of clarification from council? Is administration allowed to? I think administration is called up to make closing comments. Councillor Montgomery?
I'd like, Chuck, maybe you're the person to talk about parking and how that's affected by reduced lot sizes. Or Glenn, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. I think it's important to note here that the direct control districts that are proposed, they're not proposing reduced front yard or rear yard setbacks. They're also not proposing reduced parking standards in terms of dimensions of spaces or even the number of spaces. So if a builder was to utilize those direct control standards, they would still have to respect the front yard setback. They would still have to provide the rear yard setback. They would still have to provide the parking spaces on the land, not on the street, and they would still have to provide those spaces in a certain dimension.
So can you remind me, what are the parking standards then currently?
So each lot, in this case, the parking space would be about 2.6 by 5.5 meters. So it's kind of like your 10 by 20 feet. And then both of those each house would need 2 spaces. So typically what you would see in Strathmore would be one of those dimension spaces would be in the garage, and one of those dimension spaces would be on the driveway. Because you don't have a reduced front yard setback, you have that dimension in the driveway, and then you would also have that dimension in the garage, which would be your 2 spots. And they would be off
Sorry, so
street.
just say that again. So because there isn't a reduced setback, there is still room for a vehicle in the driveway.
Right, because a typical front yard setback would be about 6 meters, which is the length of a parking space.
Okay. I have more questions. Just for administration, sorry. So I'd asked earlier, so my understanding is that most of the environmental standards then are between the developer and the province. What role, if any, does the town play?
So when a development permit is issued, the developer in that development permit is responsible for meeting all federal and provincial regulations.
And does our administration have any comment on what are the benefits, if any? So what are the benefits, I should say, of going with these direct control, more high density than the R1? What, in our administration's view, why is it recommending this for phase 1?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. What the direct control districts that are being proposed do is it introduces a level of flexibility to how a lot can be built upon. In terms of trends and preferences, I think it's important to keep in mind that trends and preferences are often linked to housing attainability or affordability. So different types of people will have different types of housing preferences in terms of what they can attain and what they can afford. So that those development standards as a collective whole give the developer builder flexibility in terms of what types of product they can build. From our perspective, I would say in the planning world, it gives a better range of housing options and choices to people that choose to live in Strathmore.
And administration can tell me if I'm putting them on the spot here, but it's my understanding that in this area, there will be 7.5 units per acre. Did I hear that correctly?
So I'm just reading from the report here. So the concept plan right now is proposing a density across all of the ASP lands of about 7.8 units per acre, which is 19 units per hectare. And that's based on an estimated 998 lots. Now, phase 1, though, will deliver a slightly lower residential density of approximately 5 units per acre, which is 12 per hectare. However, across the balance of the site, it's anticipated that the reduced density would be made up elsewhere.
Okay, and I understand we're just talking about phase 1, but would there be a comparison to other neighborhoods in town that are 7.5, 8 units per acre? Now, I'm really putting you on the spot here, and you can tell me, so.
Yeah, I'll defer to Chuck on that one.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our area structure plans usually contain a range, usually around 6 to 8 acres, or units per acre. It's not uncommon. Edgefield has it, Lakewood has it. I think both are 6 to 8 units per acre.
Okay.
Keep in mind that's for the whole site. That includes, a little bit of like a pocket of high density in a future phase, or a duplexes in a portion of the site.
Finally, just traffic question. So phase 1 clearly is exiting onto Wheatland Trail, and it's my understanding that we've done something called a traffic impact assessment for the area. Is that correct? So my question then is, in that assessment, was there any concern about future phases exiting through Westmount and the kind of congestion then that would occur at that exiting onto Highway 1 in front of the 7-Eleven there?
Your Worship, to you, Council. So the TIA does look at each of those things. You'll note that where roads are connecting to existing development, they're generally connecting to what is already a collector road. So a road that's meant to collect vehicles from other areas of town. Westmount Drive being the main one. There also is some minor connections into Strathmore Lakes and some current, or I'll call it future development on the north side of Strathmore Lakes. Those are all alternative access for emergency purposes. They're also for convenience in certain situations, but when it comes to the main collector roads, you're probably, and I'm not quoting the TIA, but you're probably going to see a majority will use the north road that's not yet built that connects to Wheatland Trail. That's the most convenient route, whether you're going north or south or even east. For those that do go west, and we know that that will happen, going around Westmount Drive to that intersection that already exists is definitely a possibility. But as the town continues to grow, we're also going to have other options that will balance that. So in short, yes, that will get used with future phases, but we're not overly concerned about that.
And so is our short-term and long-term goals then with traffic is to deal with that intersection coming out at the 7-Eleven onto Highway 1 as that traffic continues to get busier and busier?
Yeah, so you may recall that there were some upgrades done to that intersection in the past few years to help with turning and queue lengths and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, that intersection is somewhat at its limitation just based on the roads that are adjacent to it. But as always, and with every intersection, and as every development goes through approval with Alberta Transportation, they look at those things. They ask us, what assessments we've done. They may request additional assessments, and that's a possibility in the future. But every intersection in town, as it's impacted by a development, gets reviewed and what impacts are being made.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of clarification from council? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing for bylaw number 25-08, being a bylaw to amend the town's land use bylaw number 14-11 at 8:14 p.m. And now we are in the public meeting. We have moved out of the two public hearings. We're back in the public meeting. So we're on item 5, bylaws, 5.1, West Creek Area Structure Plan, amending bylaw number 25-17. And I just want to remind council that we are just dealing with the amendment, which involves diagram 7 on this one. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
I'd like to make a motion, please, that council give second reading to bylaw number 25-17, being a bylaw to amend West Creek Area Structure Plan bylaw number 08-22.
Thank you. And now that we have a motion, sorry, I should have had Mr. Proctor speak.
That's okay, Your Worship. We're just recommending second and third reading. I've got nothing to add to the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have had you said that, say that right after. So we have a motion on the floor for second reading, which means we can have discussion and debate on that motion. Councillor Wiley.
Yeah, I'm going to be supporting this. We're not voting on whether or not we're saving the wetland or developing the west lands. That's already been decided since 2010. What we're voting on is accepting this amendment, which is map number 7.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Peterson.
Your Worship, I would move that council give third reading to bylaw number 25-17, being a bylaw to amend West Creek Area Structure Plan, bylaw number 08-22.
Thank you, and I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Now we move to item 5.2, land use bylaw, amending bylaw number 25-08, West Creek Phase 1, Strathmore. Administration, Mr. Ferguson.
So, Mayor, councillors, staff would have nothing further to add to this and would recommend that you proceed with the readings.
Thank you. So, council, we're looking for a motion so that we can have discussion. Councillor Wiley.
I move the council give second reading to bylaw 2508, being a bylaw to amend the town of Strathmore land use bylaw number 1411. And I have a comment.
Okay.
no development is perfect. I make this with a heavy heart. I'm satisfied, though, with the environmental assessments. I'm satisfied with the renewal of and working with Alberta and the Water Act. I'm satisfied with the biophysical assessments that are coming. I'm satisfied that our administration is going to be ahead on the traffic. That's been my experience working with this administration so far. I do still have some concerns about the high density, but I just think overall the neighborhoods that are referred to with that kind of density are great neighborhoods. I've been out door knocking and I've been in those neighborhoods and I've been meeting the people that are in those neighborhoods, and those people have a home. And so I am going to be voting in favor of my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from other councillors? Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. So I think Councillor Wiley, I think you kind of did a good job, spelling out some of the things that give us, or at least give you, and they give me some comfort. There are protocols in place that will be followed, and this will be reviewed. This whole thing will be reviewed further to this. And I actually I want to thank you guys for speaking and for bringing up some of these concerns. Partly because it allows us to ask, for more information and better information, and to at least understand these concerns, and yeah, so I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I want to thank the developer for taking the time to answer the questions. And Councillor Wiley, actually, I want to thank you for asking all the questions you did. You asked many questions that I was wondering as well. And you helped to kind of shed light on some of these things. And I agree, no development is perfect. And like I said, I trust that the proper processes and protocols will be followed to make sure everything is done properly. I'll speak to, I guess, some of the concerns about the direct control districts. We've had other ASPs actually in the town that have gone through where developers have come back several times to basically adjust their plans for their neighborhoods. Based on the concerns that they hear. And so, this is phase one. It's possible it's not, it's going to change a bit, but other phases, they will be listening to the people, the community, and I believe that they will be doing their best to provide a product that will be good for at least the people that are purchasing the homes, but hopefully as well the people in the neighborhoods as well. I live in the area as well, and I appreciate you guys bringing your concerns forward, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wegener.
Okay, so again, West Creek and Arcadius, thank you for your presentation. I have had some concerns about this bylaw. You did alleviate some of them with the environmental aspects and everything like that you have to follow Alberta legislation and that. But I still have some other questions that are kind of nagging at me, and I guess not so much questions, more kind of internal feelings. So at this point, I don't think I am going to support this bylaw. I've heard a lot of good information. Again, you guys alleviated a lot of stuff. I've heard a lot of information from others. I just don't think I can support this bylaw tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. I am satisfied with what I've heard in terms of the questions being answered in a fulsome way, and Councillor Wiley's comments are reflected in my own feelings around this. One of the things that I think having a small phase one incorporated into this, it does give our community time to incorporate learnings into into a better strategic plan to consider these small incremental, what I see as innovations in this development plan that can be fully measured against future impact and future policy decisions that other councils will be making in the near future. And I think that technology will also, what I see in the technology that's being utilized by this developer, that it's definitely going to help us in the future. Future developments or future councils didn't have a crystal ball. They certainly didn't have access to the technology that our engineering people have today or that our developers have today. And so being able to utilize that existing technology for development and environmental sustainability into the future, especially in small phases like this and these incremental steps, will give us information for future planning. And so I'm very appreciative of the gauge and scope of this. And so I am in support of this development, and I will look forward to the innovations that they will bring forward in the future to further assist the community, as you have in sustainability with the donation that you brought forward. Thank you.
Councillor Wiley?
Yeah, and I also want to thank the individuals that wrote in, the individuals that spoke tonight. Obviously, you would have heard your own questions you were asking me asked in this. It helped guide me. It helped me reflect. Again, none of this was easy. I do want to outline some wins also that this brings, in case there's some councillors still hesitating. There's a 4.7 acre pond that is going to alleviate some of the stress on the existing neighborhood's stormwater. It actually does a nice job of aligning with the existing, it's not perfect, but it does a nice job of aligning with the existing community through adding green space to the south side of the development. And I cannot stress enough the importance of this emergency services site. This is the best location in the town of Strathmore for us to have. And so that is a huge win. Those are 3 really big wins, all within this phase 1. And so, again, very hard decision, but I think that I really encourage the rest of council to support this.
Thank you. My own comments are, as far as traffic, there will eventually be 3 routes in and out of the subdivision, so that will ease any concerns with traffic. And phase 1 will empty onto the 817, so for a while it won't impact some of the other areas that were mentioned. The previous area structure plan did not, I believe the amendments to the area structure plan that was presented in 2010 are better for the town of Strathmore and its residents. There will be that storm pond created. Councillor Wiley alluded to that, with the size of it being 4.7 acres, and it does empty into the wetlands, and we did add the east wetlands to the Grays Park, so we have a substantial wetland there that will have possibly an educational or interpretive area. So that is a good thing for the town of Strathmore. As far as the sizes and the different types of lots, affordability, attainability is really important to our residents. This town is going to grow with people in all stages of their housing journey. So the smaller lots are essential for people to be able to afford their own homes, and then they eventually move on to other sizes as they grow and change as a family. So we want people to be able to attain housing. There's the other aspect that ties into that as well, and that is the fact that for years and years, we have been in a situation originally with Calgary Regional Partnership, then CMRB, but now we're on our own, we're not in that. But urban sprawl into farmland is something that has to be minimized. We have to really address that situation, and this area has an abundance of very good farmland, and we have to be good stewards of the land and also try to limit the spread into arable farmland. So that's a really important thing for me. I will be supporting this. And as the other councillors have said, it's a very difficult situation. I know people fear the impacts that it may have on them, but I feel the traffic will be addressed. The density is something that's going to allow for attainability and affordability. And the wetlands, we are creating a large storm pond, and we are improving our wetlands in the town of Strathmore, so I will be supporting this. Is there any further discussion on this? Then I'll call the question for second reading. All in favor? Opposed? And Councillor Peterson?
Your worship, I would move that council give third and final reading to bylaw number 25-08, being a bylaw to amend the town of Strathmore land use bylaw number 14-11.
Thank you, and I'll call the question for third and final reading. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, and that brings us to a conclusion on that item. Before we go into the public hearing, I'm wondering if I could request a councillor to make a motion. I would like an in-camera session before the next public hearing begins. Is that something, Jonathan, that could be done? Is that improper procedure? If the next public hearing is totally on a different subject, could we have a recess? I want to make sure we follow the correct procedure.
Yeah, thank you, Worship Council. I think we would just need to know what sections of the legislation we would need to go in camera under. And I know it's hard, but without knowing the specifics
Okay,
of what we're going in camera
let me
for,
just
but,
find my original agenda.
So it could be, if it's advice from officials, it would be under ATIA Section 29(1)A.
Yes, I think that would be good. Yes, sure.
And would it be fair to say it's a land item?
Yes. Has to do with land, for sure. I'm looking for a councillor who's willing to make a motion to go in camera.
Your worship, I would move that council go in camera at 8:27 under FOIP, is it still called FOIP? Section 24, subsection 1A.
Just a quick correction on that. FOIP was actually repealed
Right,
and
Yes, it's
replaced.
not called FOIP anymore.
So it's ATIA, Section
ATIA,
29(1)A.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 29.
Section 29, sorry.
29, 1A.
Yeah, 1A.
AI.
So
Thank
move
you
it
for
go
that
in
motion. Is there discussion on that motion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And we're going